Well, hey, I'm really excited, Alex. And by the way, we're here on Tech Talk Tony. And by the way, if you want to subscribe, you can just use that QR code to see a lot of great speakers like I have today. My friend Alex. And Alex and I met at Interface last year, which is one of Seattle's largest IT conferences. And we've just struck up many different conversations, like the conversation we plan to have today on beating the narrative, which is so exciting. So, Alex, if it's okay, I'll have you kind of introduce yourself and share with the audience, what you're about.
Yeah, hey everybody. Thanks for having me. My name's Alexander Salazar. I go by Alex. I'm actually a junior. My dad's name's Alexander as well. And just because it's funny, my sister's name's Alexandra, and my little brother's name is Alexi. Um,
Gosh, that's great.
you won't guess what my mom's name is.
What's that?
Not Alex.
Okay, that's what I was about to guess.
No, no. My mom really loved my dad. That's
Okay, she did. She did. Yeah, I only got one junior, so your mom,
oh, okay.
she was lucky.
Um, yeah, originally from Southern California, born and raised on the playgrounds where I spent most of my no, I'm joking.
That's
But
that's right.
uh, yeah, and then the military is what brought me to the Pacific Northwest. Got stationed at Fort Lewis back in 2016. Fell in love with the trees, fell in love with the weather, fell in love with the people, and just lack of um, or it, there was just rain. We don't have a whole
Right.
lot of that in Southern California,
That's right. That's
and
right.
I haven't been sick of it yet.
Yeah.
Knock on
Not
wood.
going. There you go.
Married, Lord willing, having a kid here soon. So a lot of exciting times in life. I currently work for the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency as a cybersecurity advisor. It's a lot of cyber in there, but
That's right. That's right.
but that's kind of where I'm currently at. And I think during this podcast, we'll kind of talk about how I got there.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and we still, haven't encountered the main topic, which we're going to talk about, because I was in the Marine Corps and you were in the Army. So there's going to be some battle that we have there, but
I
we'll,
missed some crayon. Sorry. Dang.
that's right. Well, that's right. See, it's happening already. We'll do that on a different podcast. But t today I have you here, and I want to thank you for joining, being part of our group to learn. Right? That's why we do this podcast, to learn. And this is our leadership podcast where we talk about topics that are near and dear to our heart, but could potentially be topics that many other people are facing, right? And we just happen to be in a situation where we could share that. So I want to thank you for, helping us share this with the audience and helping us kind of educate ourselves. Our topic today is about beating the narrative, and I'm excited to hear, what that is about, and maybe, we start with tell me about your journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I being the narrative, we talked about that, and I feel passionately about that. As a Hispanic, first generation American, um, also just serving my country. I feel like there's a lot of narrative of who you have to be and what you're kind of limited to. And I just I wanted to come on the air and just say no, like you're not.
Right.
You're bigger. You're bigger than whatever challenge gets set in front of you. I'm. Uh, I truly believe that. I've seen some exemplary examples of that from family or just leaders or even Tony. There's just examples of that of people who just beat the narrative. For me, that's that understanding that really came from my mom initially. She's from El Salvador. In the 80s, there was a civil war, and that's why she came to United States ultimately. She didn't want to initially. She really loves our country, home country, but things just got pretty bad as things do in all wars, and it wasn't safe for her to be a woman in the town that she was at. And but when she came here, she even for herself, she got here, and I hear these stories growing up and hearing from her, but you
Yeah.
know, she she didn't know a lick of English. but she, went in Los Angeles County to some ESL courses, started learning English.
Excellent.
First generation Americans, it's pretty easy to lean on your kids
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
translate everything. My mom was like, I'm not doing that. Like, if I need to do stuff for our family, it's me. My kids aren't going to do that for me. And
Right.
she did.
Right.
She, she learned uh, all she needed to do. She did all the paperwork. I never, um, my wife has a similar case, and she's had to help her mom translate stuff. So, just observing that in my life too, of like how much my mom put into effort into just beating the narrative that she's going to be a half English speaker. She broke that, got her own bachelor's, got her master's before all of us.
Right.
And like
Right.
and this is a woman who she didn't go to high school here, had no inheritance here. Thankfully my dad worked hard and was able to enable her. And my and so that's an example of why an example that I really always look to for beating the narrative of who she's kind of set forth to be. She had 3 kids, was a homemaker initially. Society says like, hey, you're gonna not make it in the workplace. You're
Right.
not gonna make $100,000. You're gonna be a stay-at-home mom all at your life. And just seeing her break through so many those boundaries inspired me. And
Yeah.
so yeah, for me, that really, I think I started understanding the narrative maybe in 2010. I had my first job, and at an Arco AM/PM, I was making 7.25 an hour.
Arco.
Yeah.
Arco.
And I, I think of this instance where me and this other buddy, we're both Hispanics, we're just working the cashier shop, and this gentleman came in. I call him Big Bubba because that's just imagine guy in overalls, Big Bubba. I don't know who he was, but and like as I'm checking him out, he like goes like, "Oh, you guys are just taking all our blue collar jobs, huh?"
Oh,
And
right.
and I'm like, "What? Excuse what?" Actually, I didn't even know what blue collar meant. I was 15, 16.
Right.
Like, I
Right.
didn't even know what that meant. So I went home and asked my mom and dad, like, "Hey, mom, like somebody told me this. I don't. What does this mean?"
Right.
And I started, that was the first time I started understanding somebody, um, you know, put me in a narrative that I'm a Hispanic taking all the blue collar jobs. And I'm like, I didn't like that. I didn't like
Right.
that. Like,
Right.
so, the next part of, the narrative of, hey, we were hearing my fellow peers in my high school were trying to go to universities and just do different lives. Um, and really that was like take on student debt and, just live out. You just kind of, hey, we're kind of limited because I don't have this trust fund. I don't have this inheritance to help me go to college.
Yep. Yep.
And I didn't want to put that burden on my parents. So, a route I saw was to pay for education was the military. Um, and even through that, uh, there's a narrative that minorities kind of get some more of the operations jobs like cooks, engineers, maintenance.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. That's right.
yeah. I mean, it's just kind of not that I'm saying I'm still in the guard. I'm not saying that that's um, the culture, but just it's just what if you didn't grow up educated, you score lower on the ASVAB, and if you score lower on the ASVAB, you get stuck in support jobs, and
That's right.
that's
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 right.
just how it is. And but thankfully, I was able to squeeze into an intelligence job, and that me getting into that is what has really opened a lot of doors. From the clearance, from the analytics I had to just learn being an intelligence soldier,
Right.
um, that, and then to the people I met, that really opened a lot of doors. But when I got to my first duty station in Kansas, Fort Riley, Kansas, 2013, I remember this reflection point, and that was I showed up. From Southern California. I'm first generation American,
Right.
firstborn. We have no family in Kansas. I don't even my grandma, my aunt, like maybe some of my aunts might know where to point Kansas on the map.
Right,
But
right. That's right. That's right.
like all they might know is the Wizard of Oz and the
That's right. Click,
Yellow Brick
click.
Road. Yeah. Honestly, me too. All I knew about Kansas was the Yellow Brick Road.
Right, that's right.
And so I had nothing out there. And I show up, this is my first duty station, and I remember just looking down at my chest, and in the military we got our name tape and our rank. And
Yeah.
I really took some time to reflect that I grew I there's a certain narrative that was happening in high school. Some of my friends got into just bad cliques, and not necessarily gangs, but just kind of a black hole. Maybe you could relate to that, Tony, of just
Yes.
staying home and with bad groups.
Yep.
Uh, Not that having a family early is rough, but people weren't practicing safe sex, and they had a kid a little probably a bit sooner than they wanted to, and so that's not really a black hole, but also it kind of they just had to grow up a little faster, I guess, than me.
Absolutely.
um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and so that there's this whole black hole, or this there I'm seeing this on my Facebook of all my friends from my home, and I look at my name tape. I'm like, hey, I'm fresh here. Whenever people look at me, they see me as Private First Class Salazar. Like, what do I want that to be?
Right.
Nobody knows me as Alex from Palmdale, California, or Little Rock, California. Nobody knows me as that. They don't know all the friends. They don't know all the stupid stuff I did back home.
Yeah.
Like, I have a fresh slate. Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do with this? And I there's an important point there. I do like to comment. For me at that time, also I'm a Christian, and so God reached out to me in that time, and I really gave my life to Christ at that point. But and with that came this kind of this new identity, both in spiritual and like career sense, and it was just really helpful to have that clean slate, I guess, because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's really hard when you're home because people, if you're trying to better yourself, trying to do night courses,
Right.
um, if you're home, it's like hey, stop, or go rake the leaves, go, hey, help me out with this, like I know you're studying, but go do it. So like when you're home, there's kind of like, I don't know, you kind of just get sucked into old things.
That's
So it was
right.
really
You do.
a new spot. um so that really kickstarted my new life. In Kansas, I started doing night courses for college, and just one class at a time, even if it took me maybe, let's see, 2013, 2017. So it took me 4 years to get an associate, because I was on active duty for 5 years. But I
Right.
mean, working full time in the military, that's what it took.
Absolutely. Right.
And in that sense, I wasn't with the narrative of my peers. I had peers who went straight to college. By the time 2016 rolled around, seeing graduation pictures,
Right.
there's a little bit of like, well, dang, like I'm a little behind. If
Mhm.
anything, that kind of encouraged me, like, okay, dang, I need to get serious. Maybe get two classes at a time. Let's at least get it. Let's start with the degree.
That's right.
Uh, and so 2016 rolls around. I get my associate. I do a little trip overseas to the desert, come back and get orders to Fort Lewis. And there is when I had a mentor. Um, I got stationed in an intelligence cell at the division, first corps, at the corps level, so not even above division. But Colonel Duffy, I don't think he'll ever listen to this, but I've told him time and time again. Thank him for mentoring me. Thank him for, I call it putting a boot in my behind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which we need. We needed
yeah,
this. Let me tell you.
yeah.